Hi, Nina Zapala here. This is a place we talk about spiritual personality typing. So last week on the blog and on my YouTube channel, I spoke about fashion. So I decided to fashionista myself up a little bit. I think the pandemic, whether we realize it or not, has taken a toll on us all in many different ways. And I love jewelry. I really do love fashion. And I felt like spiffing myself up a little bit for this video. We'll see how long it lasts, but for now, I wanted to do that. So if you haven't read that and you're looking for what's your fashion style based on your personality type, give that one a read. It's over on the blog. And just visit my YouTube channel, and I went into detail about that as well. But this week on the blog, it's a little windy here. Can you tell my hair is blowing a little bit? But this week on the blog, I wanted to speak to how to be strong when change is just swirling about and around you. So we're all in this time of great change. You know, who would have thought like 3 or 4 years ago we would have been locked into our houses? Who would have thought that? Who would have thought that people would be resigning from their jobs in the millions? I think like this past February, 4 million additional people resigned from their job. 4 million. So the Great Resignation looks like it's here to stay. And I also feel that there is a spiritual revolution happening as well at the same time. The Cato Institute reported that it was 83% of people rather have less pay and more meaningful work than stay where they are. You know, and I've always known that. I've always known it's never been about the money. In fact, I did research and statistics about this in my career as a public relations person, which I love. It's a good career for me. But I love doing this as well. This is kind of my heart passion, because as you know, if you watch me here often enough, you'll hear me say this repeatedly. One person that's enlightened is more powerful than a million that aren't. So I find if I can change one person's life, then that's my legacy, because one person can go on to change so many other things, the dynamics of it all. And see how I said change, because who you can influence or how you influence another person influences you. It evolves you into a better being when it's positive, of course. So let's talk about change. And I'm sorry, my dog's really close to my tripod camera here. But let's talk about change and why I believe it's here to stay for a while. I don't believe everyone's like, oh, well, I want things to go back to normal. Just erase that thought from your mind. And there is even no new normal. You know, I want you to be in a place where everything's changing around you. It's swirling and swirling and swirling. And you're basically standing there in your truth, knowing what's right for you. Wouldn't that be amazing? Wouldn't that be amazing? You know, I've said to so many friends, I said, I know so many people have been affected by the pandemic. I have too. But overall, I put myself in a position that my life didn't change that much. Yes, I'm not traveling as much, I'm not eating out as much, but that's not where I find my satisfaction. That's not where I find meaning. I'm a gatherer. I love to have people over to my place, or I'd like to go to other people's places. And I found that where I am, this little community that I am, I had that opportunity quite a lot. And everyone was really open, you know, because we were changing. Where's the mask? Don't wear the mask. You have to be locked down. You don't have to be locked down. La, 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 la. All that stuff, right? But the people that I was around they were amazing because they just were so, everyone was accepting. Nobody, that wasn't the brunt of the conversation. That's just not where everybody was. And it was so refreshing to not be, can you see that I was not stuck in this change that was happening around me? Just wasn't there, right? I saw it. I was totally aware of it. I know that a lot of people have been dramatically affected. I'm not dimming that, or I'm not taking that away from anybody. But I stuck with my truth because I want to live my truth and I want to follow my true path. So this is what we're going to talk about on the blog this week is about when change swirls around you, how to best be in the change, but not be of the change. See what I'm saying? And you also know, if you're on my channel a lot, that I am not about changing yourself. You know, there's a lot of hashtags on Instagram. Don't change yourself for anybody else. I agree. Just don't change yourself. You never change yourself. Why would you want to change what the Supreme Creator made you to be? You were created by a Supreme Being. Do you really think you can change yourself to be better than a Supreme Being created you to be? No. But see, we've been told all this nonsense. I know I was. That's why I went through my 7-year life tsunami. It was about be better, fit in, wear this, do this, be this. It had nothing to do with honoring my true self. Nothing. It had everything to do about fitting into the matrix of some systems that weren't divine with my true self in mind. Right? It wasn't honoring who I was. So I'm going to move this a little bit because my dog is just ready to topple this. Sorry, guys. Yikes. Sorry. Oliver, you're going to have to move. Thanks, buddy. Sorry. He's ready to topple. So, you know, with that thinking, it's no wonder that 83% of the population would rather make less money. They'd rather not be forced to be something they're not to make the buck. They'd rather be who they are and have more meaning and what I like to call sacred purpose. Doesn't that make sense? It really does make sense. But we're not taught that at all. We're taught to live in these systems created by religion, culture, country culture, society, or educational systems. You know? They mark us with roles with the intention of separating us. You know, I talk about this a lot. You know, if I tell you I'm a Republican, you're like, ugh, I don't like her. You're like, oh, I really like her. Or if I tell you I'm a Democrat, you're like, ugh, she's crazy. Or I really like her. See the role? See how they've just played with your mind? You know, I want to get you psychologically healthy in a very practical, pragmatic way. This doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't. But what you do need to do is commit to this and be open about it and be open at looking at yourself, because that's really, really important. So let's get into this a little bit. Okay, so I ask you a few questions. Some of these questions might be really hard for you. Some might be easy, or you're just going to shut the whole video down. And that's okay too, because I want you to take what's relevant for you and leave the rest. I am not your guru. I don't want to be your guru. I don't want to have anything to do with that. I don't want you to depend on me. That's what we're getting out of. We're getting out of dependent systems that make us small. I want you to embrace that powerful spark of divine that's within you. I don't want you to depend on me and what I have to say all the time. I want to be a joyful guide, a conduit of light. That's all I want to be. And if when you come to this channel, you find that something that I said just lit that spark in you, I am so excited. Or if you come to this channel and you're like, oh my gosh, she's talking like something, I don't even get it. That's fine too. But remember, we have to be open. And just like I have to be open to what others say, I want you to be open to what others say as well, including me. And if there's constructive criticism, I'm an ENTP, the inquisitive one. So I'm all about that. I'm all about learning. So bring it. Let's have discussions about it, because that's how we're both going to learn. I'm not going to learn from hanging around people that are exactly like me. That's what makes personality typing so awesome. That's what makes what I'm doing here so much fun, because where I learn is within the differences. That's what sheds new perspectives, new lights. It illuminates new paths for me, new creativity strands. That's what makes it so much fun. So we need to see differences as I think, new perspectives, fresh ways to look at life. We're not taught that. Again, we're taught to be part of this matrix, part of this system. It's really unhealthy. And that's why we're seeing the Great Resignation. We're seeing people's health suffer because we're so locked into these fears that we've been taught. We're not supposed to live like this. It's not. It's not healthy. So let's go to the 3 questions. So the first question I'm going to ask, and you might have a journal out, a pen and paper. I really recommend a pen and paper, like a journal or just a notepad with a wooden pencil. It's just your energy flow is just more dynamic. It can resonate through the wood. It's a natural substance, or if you're a computer person, go on Evernote or whatever notes you take. But it really does work. Your energy works better with a pencil and paper, all natural things. Does make sense? Makes sense. Okay, let's go on. Okay, so take some notes and ask yourself this question. Are you afraid of change? Are you afraid of change? If you're like most people, your answer is probably going to be yes. Your answer is probably going to be yes. So why is that? Because in our society, I don't know, in Western cultures especially, I live in the United States, so that's any culture I can speak to. And I lived in many states. I like to bounce around. But we're taught that change is scary. Stepping into the unknown is like not good. You need to go for the security and do what the system is telling you. Be what you're told to be. Hit those societal expectations. March to the drum of somebody else's story. You can't produce your own life story. You can't author your own life story if you're living someone else's beliefs. If you're fulfilling somebody else's expectations. So change should excite you. Right? Even when change is hard. Like I just moved. It was a total pain in the ass. I moved so much and it's still a pain in the ass every time I move. It's the hustle of getting everything packed and like, where am I going to go? Am I going to like the neighborhood? La, 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 la. Oh my God, huge trade-off. House is really dark. I know I keep on bitching about that, but it's the truth. Just being truthful. I'm not really bitching about it. But my trade-off is in this yard. OMG. It is my happy place. I just am so blessed to have this beautiful backyard. So moving, my thing. Anyhow, so if we start looking at change, even if you're in a really crappy relationship, even if you're in a really crappy job, and you're like, I got to get out of here. But then the change of it all is like, oh my God, who's going to love me? Where am I going to get another job? Because that's what we're conditioned. We're conditioned. Look at the fear and the negative aspects of it. That's the first thing we do. And actually, we have a bias towards this. It's called negative biasing. And Google it, because it's all over the internet. And I might even stick that in the blog. Nah, I probably won't, because it doesn't go with what I've written. Because this is always a lot longer. But just Google that, because we do have a negative bias. But what if we started looking at change as a way to evolve? As a way to get better. So I know you've heard this before, it's probably a cliche, but what if you're in this job and you say, I'm done? The Great Resignation, which everyone's doing. But why don't you look at it as the Great Awakening? And if you come at it with the idea that something better is on the horizon, instead of sitting in fear and fostering fear thoughts, that's where you're going to go. You're going to go into the fear. Nothing's going to work out. You're going to be pushing. You're going to be forcing. You're going to be stuck. But if you come from it from an awakening standpoint, oh my God, look at this. It's a new life path. Let me reimagine what I want to be doing. Do I want to become an independent person? Do I want to start controlling my own money? Or do I want to go to a new place? Do I want to go to, have a better role? What is it? What is it that you truly, truly desire? And I'm telling you, you're not going to know this unless you're fully intimate with your personality type. Your personality type pretty much indicates your career choices, like last week's blog, your fashion choices. I did one on Anna Delvey, what happened to her when her personality type wasn't healthy. So, it's all in there. And it's up to you to look within and start peeling all this, unraveling all this old conditioned narrative, unravel it and let it go. The same situation, would happen if you're in a crappy marriage or if you're in a crappy relationship. Do you want to stay there? Is that what you want your life to be 5-10 years down the road, still in that shitty relationship? No. And I'm not advocating you leave without discussion or without mediation or whatever, couples counsel, whatever. Because I'm not telling you to throw away something because you're not healthy and you haven't taken responsibility for your part in this. Same with your job. You have to take responsibility. Right? But what if you could see the change as a new, beautiful path for you? And not this dark, dreary hole that you're going to fall into, this abyss of darkness that you're going to fall into. Oh my God, I can't change. It's too much. It is if you think like that. So that's something I want you to journal on. Now, do you see change as inevitable? I think we all do deep down inside. But I think it's something we don't want to look at. Right? And when we don't want to look at it, you're going back to question 1 because there's a fear there. Because we're taught, you need to be secure. You need security in life. Get married, you'll be secure. Oh, that's bullshit. All of it's bullshit. And if we've learned anything through the pandemic, it is all bullshit. Because come on, like what's secure right now? Nothing. But I think that's the great universal lesson that we're all going through right now, which is beautiful because we're all going through it at the same time. Nobody is any different than anybody else. I don't care if you're a multimillionaire or you're living on the streets. We're all going through change because you can feel the energy. Now, there is a difference, I get it, between a multimillionaire and somebody living on the streets. But sometimes, I really wonder. A friend of mine, we're having this conversation, and she walks on the lake. She's in Florida, and she walks around this lake. And every day she sees this lady. This lady's fishing. She's always really pleasant to my friend. They always have the nicest talk. And my friend often comments and says, Nina, all she has is 2 grocery bags. That's her life. 2 grocery bags. And then she said something that I was really illuminated by her thought. She said, do you know how freeing that would be? Yeah, you might not know where your next meal's coming, but she's fishing, so she knows where her next meal's coming. Yeah, it rains, you're going to have to take cover. But she is free. She is totally free from the constructs of our society. And I find that to be very interesting if you think about that. So often we see people with less, and if you think about it, they actually have more. They have more freedom. They have more flexibility. And they have less responsibility. So it's kind of an interesting way to look at that, right? Okay, and this last question. So, don't even freak out on the last question, but I have to ask it because this question has been so much in our face, and I think it's driven such harsh and horrible fear in so many of us. And the question I ask is, how do you perceive death? I mean, isn't this whole COVID thing about, oh my God, you're going to die if you don't take the vaccine? I don't care. I don't care if you're taking the vaccine or not. I could give a flying anything about that. If you know me, my mind is just, those things aren't even, I don't care about that. What I do care is a fear-based propaganda that does make you sick, that makes you stop. And it gives you a very narrow look at life. Because if you look at life, do you listen to Abraham Hicks? She's, I've been listening to her for probably 10 or 15 years. She's amazing. And, we all know that a lot of us know that we're spiritual beings having on a human journey. And she had a recent video, which was so wonderful. A woman had lost her son at 22. I can't even imagine. I can't imagine. But what I found so fascinating about the discussion was that Abraham brought it back to her beloved husband, Jerry, who she lost, it's been years now. And she said, yes, at first we mourn the loss of their beingness, of them being around us, their things, the everyday interaction. And that's so true. It's such a truth. She goes, but then after I went through that, you mourn the closeness of them, right? But she said something very interesting. She goes, after I kind of started letting that go, I found a new closeness because I re-envisioned, here we go again, she evolved the change into evolution. Because she reimagined her relationship with Jerry on a spiritual level, on an unseen level. He talks to her all the time. She was telling a story about dimes. She didn't give the clue to why the dimes, but she said there's dimes everywhere, and I wasn't getting it. So finally he just put like dimes in my shoes. And so she's like, okay, I got it, dimes. What are we talking about, right? And so she had the conversation. I know I speak to my mother. I know people, take what you want, leave the rest. My mother has talked to me a lot. So has my father. In fact, before my father left, I told him, I said, Dad, we need to have a signal. So when you get on the other side, I need to know that you're okay. Which I knew he'd be okay. But he was very nervous about dying. And I actually gave him some of my spiritual books because I believe we're internal beings. So we never really die. And I did this. And he did communicate back. So I think if we look at death as more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? I have it in here. Let me look real quick because I want to make sure this is the word I was looking. Transition. A transition to a higher elevated place. So what if you don't look at it as like death? Like that's such a horrible word. But what if you look at it as a transition? And so to this lady whose son was 22, oh my God, yes, that's horrible. But she's now looking at it like a transition where she could have a new relationship with her son. And during this time with Abraham Hicks, her son said, Mom, you've got to worry less. Let's start there. Stop worrying. Because that doesn't help you. Let me help you to stop worrying. So already there's this new cool relationship. Oh my gosh, look at my son's from the other side. It's helped me not to worry. And not only it's a son, it's like this cadre of spiritual guides. Your spiritual soul family's on the other side. So they're all helping you. You just have a better connection with your son because they were here, or he was here on the planet. And just like me with my parents, I can still remember them as my mother and father. But I have this whole soul family on the other side now, but I'm connecting through my mother and family, and they have access to all this beautifulness that they share with me. So instead of looking at death, whether you leave the planet, or somebody close to you leaves the planet, Can we kind of revision that as a transformative time for us? I'm not saying it's going to be easy. It's not going to be easy because you miss the proximity, the closeness, the touching, the meals shared, the love making, the experiences. You miss all that, good and bad. It's part of being a human being. But if we could just tweak our mind, just shift that little mindset and look at that from a different perspective. Does that help you? If you can look at that from that, instead of waking up with this fear every day, you're like, okay, well, I am an internal being, so I just need to keep on going. Yes, you need to keep on going. You need to elevate yourself above the fear. Be aware of it. Be compassionate and kind. And honor those who are leaving. But don't fear it. Don't fear the change. Don't fear the transition. Okay, so one of the things I talked to, and I'm going to wrap this up because this is getting me like 30 minutes. You guys were like, sometimes I just think 30 minutes is a good time for me. But there's more stuff on the blog. So I do want you to go there because I go into how do you stay strong, or how can you? And I'll give you some tips in that. Stay strong when the change is swirling around you. And I look at that. Then I also look at what can you do right now? What can you do? Well, the first thing is that you need to answer those questions and what change really means to you. I know you defining yourself by somebody else's expectations or how somebody else wants to change you. I know I did that for decades. That's why I'm sitting here. I don't teach anything I haven't been through. I do not do that. I had people in my life that always wanted to change me. For those reasons I'll go into later. But there's some cool reasons. Because I'm a very intense person. I love to learn. I do think I'm intelligent from a very different perspective of the word intelligent. I'm intelligent because I'm hungry for knowledge. And I want to share what I learned. So it's not from I have a PhD, DF, whatever. No. And that's a physical intelligence that we, again, in the educational systems, good or bad, I'm not judging that. I'm talking more of a spiritual intelligence, more of a, what's the right word? Body, mind, and spirit intelligence. That's what I'm into. And everyone's different. That's what I love. Like, so bring it. You know, if you've got your PhD in psychology and you want to talk to me, bring it. Let's do this. It'll be fun. You know, we should examine all aspects of it. So I think something you want to do is you want to answer those questions. And then I think you really need to commit to wanting to learn more about yourself. And really commit to the idea of authoring your own life. To become the author of your own life. To embrace your genius. And know that within that genius is your sacred purpose. I believe we're all here with a sacred purpose. And now is the time. If you want to sit at the table and be a part of New Earth, you got to go into it knowing who the hell you are. You can't go into it copying somebody else or being what somebody else wants you to be. It's not going to work like that. You won't survive. I know that's harsh, but it's the truth. You have to be who you are. You have to show up as yourself. I don't want you to change yourself. I want you to find yourself, which means finding your truth, your true self. Your true self is the divine spark that resides in you. And that spark inspires action through your personality type. You know how it does that? Because it gets downloads from divine intelligence. And your spark is what somebody calls a heart center, your true self, your authentic self, your higher self, whatever you want to call that. I don't care. Just know that you have this spark of divine in you, that if you awaken to it, that non-physical aspect of you, it will lead, it will inspire your personality type. It will use your personality type and its traits and its positive characteristics to take inspired actions. So your personality type is so cool because it's designed with your sacred purpose in mind, right? So you got to commit to that. You got to commit to knowing your personality type. Question: do you know your personality type? Comments in the below, please put a comment in, yes or no. It doesn't matter if you do or don't. I was just curious for my own curiosity. I'm inquisitive. So I'm going to give you a couple places to take your personality test. If you don't know it, you need to know it. And then I'm going to send you to a blog that addresses your superpowers, because we all have superpowers. And just as I found what was so interesting on your fashion style, your superpowers, how you show up in the world too, is so innately you. You know? I mean, I show up as an ENTP totally different than another ENTP. I think Amy Poehler is an ENTP. I'm nothing like Amy Poehler. Well, her stage show, I guess, but I don't really know her. But I'm just saying that as an idea. I think with fashion types too, I picked, you have to go back and look at the blog, but I know it was Kate Middleton and Britney Spears. Same personality type. Look how they show up in the world. Same personality type. So it just goes, it just breaks what I'm trying to break open, that stereotyping of personality types. That's bullshit. We gotta stop doing that. You are uniquely you. And your personality type is here to support your sacred purpose. That's, in essence, is what its role is. Nothing more, nothing less. That's why I love spiritual personality typing. All right, so you need to commit. You need to embrace the changes. You need to answer those questions. And go look at the blog, see what your superpowers are. You might agree or disagree. It doesn't matter. Get you started. Get started. So you don't get so enveloped in this change that's around us. And it's here to stay. It's like a freaking tornado, man. It is intense and it's never ending. And it's here to stay until we can all start getting on this same wavelength of meaningful existence, of stepping into your true self, of being who you truly are, of finding your sacred purpose. We're not here to be a system of somebody. We're not here to be a cog in somebody else's system. That's not what we're here for. We're here to support each other. And if it is within the system, it's within the system of the collective family system to serve and be of sacred purpose that way. It's not how it's set up now, which is obviously there's, devastation of the planet, greed. I mean, look at the fear. Oh my God. And look how people treat each other. It's not what we're supposed to be doing here. We're supposed to be here in love. Cliche as that is, it's the truth. There's two emotions, love and fear. Marianne Williamson has been talking about that since I can remember I was a teenager listening to her. I'm like, God, that is so cool. Let's learn more about that. Love and fear. So we either look at change from a fear aspect or we look at change from a love aspect. What are you going to do? Okay, guys, I'm going to wrap this up. Go visit the blog. I'm going to put a couple journal prompts in the blog, and there's a little bit more detail for you. If you like what I'm talking about, you want to share what I'm talking about, I would appreciate it. Just share and subscribe. And I have some really cool stuff coming up with my friend Liz. She's amazing. And she talks too about, we get into some personality typing, and she has a different perspective because I have, this is so in me that sometimes it's hard for me to express in detail. And I'm a P type, I'm an ENT, so I'm very much in my head a lot. So sometimes, and it's true about this personality type, I have a hard time expressing what I really want to say sometimes. So yeah, if I'm saying something, you're like, what the hell is she talking about? Put it in the comments. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, I can talk to that. And I'll talk to that. I might even do a whole blog on it, you know? And I think I'm going to start asking some people to be on my YouTube channel as a guest. Wouldn't that be fun? Look at your personality type, see who you are. I think it'd be fun. Anyway, thank you all for listening. I so appreciate you taking the time to be here with me. I'm so happy for you that you are taking the time, this is more importantly, to examine yourself and learn aspects about your personality and your soul self that's going to bring you closer to your sacred purpose. We need you in the world right now. Remember, one person that's enlightened is more powerful than a million that aren't. We need your light right now. We need that. If you want a seat at the table of what's happening in the new earth, you've got to show up as yourself. So I hope you enjoyed this. Like, subscribe, share, and I'll see you next week. All for now. Thanks a million. Nina.